better than all of you. Even he could do it.
Even he
Where he came from. He wasn't even born here. Hello, welcome back to the Evolve podcast. It's episode 15. Are you listening to me, Lewis, and my good old beloved Samuel? How you doing, Sam?
It's been one of them days. It's been one of them days.
I've had a week, Sam. I'll tell you.
You know what? The weather isn't helping, for one thing. And I know it's bad. What's it called? It's bad form to basically start a conversation with, "How's the weather?" Or "The weather is this." It's kind of just such a cliche thing to start a conversation as an icebreaker, to talk about the weather, especially when you do like a video call. It's like, "Oh, what's the weather like where you're living?" But honestly, this weather has had me questioning myself. It's been so bad. I've literally not been able to type. Like I've struggled with spelling, and I already struggle with spelling and writing as it is.
Fact.
I have struggled with formulating sentences on emails to a point where I've literally had to follow up with another email to say, "It's too hot. I'm sorry."
I'm sorry.
And then literally the other person's gone, "I feel your pain. Don't worry." Like that has been. And then you know what's harder? When I catch up with my team. So because as a product manager, I have my engineers and my product owner. We have them in like a different country, and we've got other team members sometimes that I talk to who are based in America. Everyone's just kind of dotted around. We've got people I talk to who are in Bulgaria. And long story short, they all go through the weather at way more extremes than we get in the UK. We just like bitching about the weather. They live it worse than we do. So when it's really hot and humid and I join like a team from Hyderabad and I'm trying to just say like, "Hey, I'm just really going through a lot right now. Can we make this work? Can we make this meeting quick because it's too hot?" And then someone's like, "Yeah, we saw it's 15 degrees hotter here in Hyderabad." I was like, "What do you want me to do about that? I'm suffering here, okay? I'm used to crappy, cool weather, not this mess, not this hot, humid bastard weather."
That is really a thing. Like, at least when it's cold, you can still think. Like, when it's too hot,
Yeah,
you can't think straight. It's like you're drunk.
no, it's horrible. So I've been sneaking off to the office. I say sneaking off. I've been ditching all the responsibilities of owning cats. I literally just leave cold water. I close the blinds or the windows because we've got like thermal blankets for curtains. But I don't like working in the dark, so I'm not. And my office is where the cats sleep, so I just close it, put their food there, put their water there, and run away to the office where they pay for air condition, and it's cheaper. So I basically just hide there. Yesterday I was in the office from about 9 o'clock till 9:30 in the evening, working.
Yeah. I saw. I was like,
"Yeah,
what's wrong?"
And you know what? I felt like a massive hypocrite, dude.
I was like, "What are you doing?"
This week, I have, after all this talk about changing and, respecting myself so others will respect my time, all this stuff, I have felt myself slipping into the bad habits of people-pleasing Sam, and I catch myself. I'm just like, "What are you doing? Stop making yourself look stupid."
Looking like a dickhead.
Exactly. Idiots. Then I catch myself and I'm like, no, I'm not your bitch. I'm not doing that. And then I correct it and we keep moving. But there's been a few times where this hot weather just had me calling uncle, just tapping. And she's like, "I'll do what you want. Just stop talking to me. Just leave me alone. I'll do what you want." And then I'm just sat there in the heat like, "Oh, I've got to do it now. I don't want to do it, but I've got to do it." But yeah, it's been crazy. Coursework has been the other focus. So anxious extrovert. I literally had a call with Ollie like last week or the week before. I was like, "Dude, I sense that things are going to get crazy for me. So I'm going to need you to just be autonomous with anxious extrovert. I'm going to need you to just take this list of product features and just work on those. Let me know when they're done. I have nothing else to add until they're done. Just let me know." And I've not heard back from Ollie. I can only assume he's doing well. I hope he's alive. I hope he's eating and drinking well. But literally, it's whatever's happening with that business is in Ollie's hands right now. I check the emails regularly to make sure everything's fine with the accounts and all that. We've always got our money topped up. Everything's live. Cool. Then I go back to work. So that's with that. Coursework. I'm not going to jinx it. Let me touch some wood. Wood. Yeah, come on, man. We're adults here.
Crazy, bro. Crazy.
So So stop ruining my train of thought. It's still hot, you know.
I'm sorry, bro. I'm just here chilling with my AirPod. Go on.
Anyway, so, coursework. We had a really important meeting today with like the university, and you know where I've been talking about how the university has been umming and ahhing about whether we call it DBA or a PhD, and there's an up in the air discussion around that. We've finally got the answer, and I am now a PhD candidate or student or whatever you want to call it. No more DBA. I've swapped my whole hand in to PhD. So I'm going to be full PhD. I'm not going to say I'm PhD, but I actually said, no, Dr. Sam Will Grantson, PhD. That's all you need to know. Simple as that. I do think, and I'll say in touch word, I think I'm going to finish a year early, Lewis.
Oh, damn. That's good.
I know. So I've already finished my data collection, and now I'm analysing it. And whilst I was analysing it, I was like, half of this is basically just me using my technical mindset. So I've just gone through all my hypotheses and I've come up with a way to test each one of the data that we have. I was like, oh, gang. So at some point next week, I basically need to sit there, finish the rest of like the diagrams and the testing processes I'm writing up. And I'm just going to sit there and stare at SPSS and just start pulling the hypothesis, test the data. Next one. And there's about 10 hypotheses I need to test. There's going to be a few thousand words per hypothesis, I think, that I'm testing, which is a bit of a no-no. You shouldn't like overwrite, but there's so much to say, like there's so much juicy stuff to say. So I'm really going to have to restrict myself. So the down parts of my week, other than the weather, other than let myself down a bit on, you know, my self-respect and say no to things, is I've been handed over a massive project, which is basically migrating some of our clients from one product onto another. And I got handed it because the project wasn't going too well. And I've basically been like, made the team's problem solver. If something's going bad, make Sam do it. And Sam will fix it. And it'll be all right. Because I used to be a yes man. So being a yes man, I fix a lot of stuff. Also, there's a lot of stuff going on in business. They've given it to me. And I'm not going to lie, Lewis. When I accepted it, I didn't have a choice. They gave it to me and they said, this is your focus now. Stop messing about other stuff. This is all you care about. And I was like, fine, I'm going to do what I do best and fix this. Lewis, I don't know if I can fix this. I don't know if I can fix this. We're going to have to chalk this one. We're going to have to call it the L that it is and just let it go.
Oh, that's true.
I don't know what's happening. Because there are timelines that are literally impossible. The people who are given the timelines are then telling me they can't do it. So I'm like, where have these timelines come from? I'm literally evaluating like the work we've got to do, the extra things I've got to change about the project plan. And then I've gone to company, I was like, yeah, you see that deadline? I'm going to need us to move it further down. I'm going to need like
an extra line, Brev.
I was like, it's not happening. We're going to have to. And then they were like, oh, no, we're not moving it. And I was like, what do you mean you're not moving it?
They're going to have to.
You're going to have to. Like, oh, no. It's like, Sam, I need you to listen to me. Sam, we've got a legal obligation to do this. So, like, you have to make this happen.
That's a you problem. That's a you problem. Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm just like, well, it's not. Because according to my contract, it's always a me problem. When they say it's a me problem, it's a me problem. So I'm accountable for this. And I'm just sat there thinking, I'm going to have to throw away nice guy Sam. And I'm not going to Lewis. Every day in the past 2 weeks has been me beefing people. And the worst thing is I get into this mode when people have to go at me, where I just shut off all emotion, especially at work. Like when people start kicking off at me, I shut down. I'm just like,
I've seen it. I know exactly what you mean.
And I'm just like, I'm not going to engage in this behavior. I'm just going to look at you and I'm going to talk at you. And then when you're done, we're going to do what I've said because you sound stupid right now. And that's been me for 2 weeks to a point where like, someone booked a call with me to be like, Sam, is everything okay? Like they did the whole like, Sam, you're not the same Sam you used to be.
Sam, you're not the same. What's going on? Is it okay at home?
I was basically like, this is a shit show. People are acting blasé about it, and it's a fucking shit show. So until it gets better, I will treat it like the shit show it is and make it better. I'm not your friend. Let's go. I'm just like, after I said it, I was just like, oh, felt a bit sexy that. That felt good. I felt healthy. I'm in charge. But yeah, it's been a mess. And before I say any more, if I speak, Lewis, it's a sensitive project, but I am across multiple projects, so it'd be hard to tell which one I'm talking about, to be honest. But yeah, before I speak, because the topic of this episode shapes around it, I need to make one comment. A comment I said I need to make. These episode plans we've put together are telling the fucking future, and I don't like it. We need to change one of them until we become millionaires quickly. I don't like it, and people need to know the episode titles were planned literally like months ago. We have drafted these titles months ago, and before every episode I joined, that week I suffer whatever problem we're going to talk about, and I'm not happy. Because people seem to think like, oh, they must come up with it on the fly because they've always got something that's happened to them in the last week that I had. No, we planned this. It's like a Simpsons episode, but instead of it being in the past, we're telling the future.
We got that Mac Ronan riz.
Exactly.
Yeah, it is weird because it happened with the networking thing.
Yeah. It happened with the networking thing. What else has it happened with? No, honestly, I don't even think we need every episode. Episode. The only one that didn't happen for me was networking. That happened for you. But even then, I had meetings booked in for like the weeks after that before the networking episode. It's literally ridiculous. Yeah. So I don't know which episode you want to change into what it's like to become a billionaire.
Because we need to do that. Guys, being rich is just so fun.
So hard.
Like, if you're homeless, just buy a home. You know what I mean? If you're poor,
ridiculous.
Just get money.
Everyone has the same 24 hours.
Yeah, honestly.
We're joking.
Oh,
sake, guys. Jesus. Anyway, but yeah. You land, bro. You land. I've been talking and ranting too much. I need a fan.
Yeah. So I've had a week, Sam. I'm not gonna lie. I've had a week. I've had a setback. What? So I'm gonna tell the listeners the story. Mm-hmm. Keep it vague because you know some of it. I alluded to this in previous episodes. So this is at own risk, but you know what? I'm being authentic in this. In this. Right. So I applied for a job.
Mm-hmm.
Last week, a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, yeah, this is clearly in the bag. They asked me to do one interview. They asked me back to do an interview the day after. And they were like, yeah, we'll get back to you within 1 to 2 days. Did they get back to me in 1 to 2 days, Sam? No. Was I anxious for an entire week? Yes. Did I burn myself out in stress? Yes. Did they reject me? Yes.
No.
They did.
No!
Now, dear listeners, you can put 2 and 2 together. You know I'm an editor. You know I love film. What company would I like to work for? I'm not going to say it, but hasn't panned out. And yesterday, I felt like shit. I'm not going to lie. It was a setback. It was a setback. It was a setback and a half. So much that I was like, we literally talked about setbacks the other week. So it's weird that you talk about. It's weird that you talk about the juju stuff, but So yeah, yesterday was an L. I just wrote it off today, and I was like, you know what? It's fine. On to the next one because I had to. Yeah. And weird thing happened today though. Mm-hmm. So obviously, I was able to work from home yesterday, which was good because I was in a shitty mood because of the bad news, and the started off the day had to be in early, which was again peak, and then had an hour and a half like all hands meeting. And I was like, this is great because I dreamed of handing in my notice today. So obviously I want to know about everything that's going on in the company. Weirdly enough, though, at the end, there was like here are some internal jobs going, stuff like that. And I was like, okay, this is weird. And I'm sitting next to my boss being like, okay, that's weird. An hour later after this meeting, had a one-to-one with my boss. And she was like, what did you think about those internal roles going? And I was like, this is a test. I was like, this is a test. She was like, no, if you think it's quite good, like, you should actually go for it. And I was like,
yeah, it's a test.
I was like, what's this? I was like, what the fuck? I was like, yeah? And I was like, this sounds weird. So I took her word as it was. And, it's within my team, like the wider team, not like my immediate team, like the extended family of the team. So I was like, okay, yeah, like, I might consider it. And, I basically was like, oh, okay, I don't want to act like too keen.
Yeah.
And then I basically spoke to the person whose job it was, because she's getting promoted into another team. And I was like, and me and her, like, we're pretty sure each other. And I was like, right, do you actually like the job? Like, is management okay? Like, is it actually good? Like, should I actually do this? Like, because if it was shit, she'd be like, nah, don't do it. It's actually ass. But she was like, you would prefer it to what you're currently doing. Like, I know interviews have already kicked off. So if you're interested, like, apply, like, now. Now, people don't know this, particularly at work, but when I'm really, really keen to do something, like, I will be like, cool, like it's done. So I left that like brief conversation and basically just like applied for the job straight away. I pretty much like did the CV, did the cover letter, like I make it happen, because as soon as I heard, interviews already kicking off, I was like, this is happening now. Like I'm letting things move. No, I know the hiring manager, so already set him like a team, so I should be like, hey, I'll grab you 5 minutes. He wasn't about. Luckily enough, there was a summer social going on, like the summer party going on from 4:30. And for 2 hours, I was trying to find an opportunity to actually speak to the hiring manager, like on a one-to-one, being like, hey, it's on your message, just to let you know, I know that this role's going, and just so you know, I've got my hat in the ring, I'm really interested. Like, can we grab 5 minutes to talk about the role? It took me 2 hours to finally get this man on a one-to-one basis. Like, I was like, doing networking thing, like being, the social Sam and everything like that, having a beer, like obviously chat to it. Finally got down to chat to him, because the girl who's obviously job it was like, your window of opportunities now, like go sit at the table, like he's on his own. I was like, yeah, thank you. And finally chatted to him. He's like, we already follow each other on Instagram. He was like, oh yeah, like your editing's sick, by the way, like yeah, and all sort of stuff. So I was like, yeah. And then like he recently had a kid as well. We chatted about that. And then the third person finally left. And I was like, by the way, said my piece. And he was like, oh, sick. Yeah, let's have a chat tomorrow about the role. And I was like, yeah, I'm actually interested in it. I told my manager as well. I was like, by the way, just so you know, after I one-to-one, I've already applied. She was like, what? And she was like, I thought you were going to like think about it and stuff like that. Like you already like your CV was up to date and everything like that. I was like, yeah. It's like you updated your CV quick, and I was like,
Did you tell them the truth?
I was like, yeah, like I said like something like, yeah, like I regularly like I updated it once I moved job here and stuff like that, and I was like, it was already like ready, as opposed to me being like, I've been applying. Like, do you know what I mean? So, oh man, she actually thinks I'm a fair kid, because I wouldn't have applied for it if my manager had brought it up and who was the team.
You're such a... that's gaslighting. That's corporate gaslighting what you're doing right now. So it's not me. I would have done it if you didn't say I should do it.
What? No, genuinely, I actually I didn't
do it if you knew about it as soon as...
I didn't know the roles were going about internally, because I don't check the internal job board. So,
okay.
So she was like, yeah, you should apply. And I was like, yeah, that's cool. And then like actually a few hours later, I was like, yeah, done. And she was like, oh, fuck. Like, she was like, that was quick. Yeah, I like, at that time, I was like, yeah, like trying to see keen, like, obviously I really love working within the team and stuff like that. But I then kind of like blew my cover by applying that day and being like, yeah, cool. She was just like, oh, damn, like, you really want to leave?
Bless her. She was just like, what did I do wrong?
Yeah, I at that moment, she was like a bit gutted. She was like, oh, damn, right, okay.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, maybe I should have played it differently and been like, oh, by the way, I'm going to apply. But because I act with a sense of urgency, and don't get me wrong, if I saw her before I hit enter, I would have told her. But
yeah,
I was like, oh yeah, I probably should tell her now. I got caught up in the moment.
Have you heard back about it, or are you waiting to find out more?
Bro, it just happened today.
Oh, and you're speaking on it? When did you find out the result?
This whole thing happened 3 hours, like 3 hours ago. Yeah, so the external role, that was yesterday morning. The internal stuff all happened today. So you're getting this fresh. And the thing is as well, whilst I was socializing, obviously I had a few drinks as well. So I'm trying to like, so I'm actually turning up to this like 2 pints in. So, but it's all cool though. So that's probably why I'm a bit more liberal with what I'm saying today. But I was like, this will be good for the pod, because
I get to see what you saw the last time.
It's juicy. It's a juicy episode. So
Tipsy Lewis,
it's weird
funny,
because
Lewis.
I envisioned like today I'd be, being like, yeah, moving on. And now it's actually like, oh wait, actually I might be staying. So I've come to the realization that, what, some things happen for a reason. And I have to believe that, because otherwise you get to a very low place where you're just like, everything's pointless and none of this makes any sense. And you get into a really negative state. And I was there yesterday. I was like, the higher powers that be just don't like me. I was like, this doesn't make any sense.
Take stock of the reasons why. Did they give you a reason why?
So I don't know that yet. I'm waiting for feedback on it. And the thing is, I replayed things many, many times in my head.
There's
and
no point in doing that.
Genuinely can't see an angle. And the thing is, you know this about me, I'm very good at looking at things objectively. Like, if I was like, this part was shit, I would say, I genuinely do not know. And I just have to come to peace with it and just be like, you know what? It's probably like, you know, if I ended up going there, I'd end up getting the tube and someone might have stabbed me that day or some shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I know that's an extreme example. Yeah. It happens. Sometimes shit is protecting you and you don't realize it until later on. So I have to believe that it's happened for a reason, because I don't know what the reason could be. So, because it was just so clear cut to me, but I'm going deep within and be like, you know what, some things just have to be beyond my understanding, and rejection is a redirection. So I've dealt with a very, very hard rejection this week, and I'm looking forward to what it's redirecting me to. I'm choosing to I'm choosing to gaslight myself into thinking that this is meant to happen. But I think what's the alternative?
These things are meant to happen. I genuinely believe there are key points in life that just have to happen.
And the thing is, right, with this particular company, this was like when I envisioned where I would go to next, it was this company. And so obviously when this opportunity came about, I was like, this is it. I've spoken it into existence. It's as it was written. Like, I was like, this obviously is it. And it wasn't. And maybe that's a lesson I needed to learn. I don't know, but we move. We just have to move, innit? We see what's going to happen next, as Drake would say. So yeah, it's been a mad couple of.
I'm sad to hear that, man. This is actually, so for users, obviously we have conversations outside of the pod. It's the first time I've heard one about that opportunity. But I'm really happy that you're able to come in with a solution, not just a problem or not just a negative outcome. There's a positive outcome out of it. And I think it's opened your eyes to opportunities outside of what you do. I think your eyes were always open to opportunities outside of what you do, but it's made you more confident and more comfortable with trying those opportunities and put yourself forward without shying away from it or without hiding the fact that you're going for those opportunities. Because I think this is the first time your manager's aware that you're open to new things.
I kind of accidentally showed all my cards, to be honest.
So, and I think hopefully this other opportunity goes well for you, but it does kind of make the statement of, if you keep doing a good job at what you do, regardless of the fact that you're going for new opportunities, that makes you look better. Because the fear of most managers is, as soon as someone says they want to apply for somewhere else, the enthusiasm for the current day job is gone. The support for the tasks at hand is gone. And you kind of become an unreliable person for important things that your job requires you to do. So when it's like a promotion opportunity or like a pay rise opportunity coming up, they don't really assess you for those. They kind of look at you as like, is he doing his job properly regardless? Is he doing all that? And because it's internal, as long as other managers can see that even when you're on your way out, you give it 100%, it's fine. Because that is literally the ultimate sign of someone who cares about their output. They're not just there for the check. And that's what most managers need. Most managers need someone who can get the job done properly.
Yeah, I definitely had this at my old job. When I was checked out and I was applying, they could tell. And I basically was shit at my job once I checked out. And I thought I was getting away with it and like half-assing it and getting away with it. And they picked up on it. They were like, do you actually want to be here anymore? Like, they were very much like, what's going on? And I was like, no, I definitely do. Then I picked it up. I put it up like 10% and then everything was fine. And then I quit.
Then I was like, fuck you.
So at the moment, like, I mean, I had a conversation with my boss and, you know, I think I said in the previous pod, like, I don't like to be plateaued too long.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I've been in the role for just over 2 years now. So I'm very much like and I hope she kind of got the implication that, you know, I am gonna look for new things. So, but I think now it's very much she knows that I'm actually taking action, because she was like, "Oh, your CV was updated very quickly, wasn't it?" Like, and I was like, "Oh shit!" Like, yeah, there's no way I could talk myself out of that, but I tried to. But I think she was like,
"It's definitely a test. It's definitely a test when they do the whole. Feel free to apply to opportunities internally. Like, there's always opportunities available." It's almost like, you know, in the early stages of a relationship, where it's just like, oh, we're not like a serious thing or anything. Like, you can do what you want. As soon as you hook up, someone's like, you what?
Yeah.
Who did you sleep with? Why did you sleep with her? How could you do this to me? Yeah, you said we were cool. You said we were friends with benefits. I'm testing out the benefits elsewhere. So
yeah, I
you did what you need to do, man.
Yeah. I was like, you know what? Game's a game. Like, you can't. When she said, she was like, "Wow, you're applied already." I was like, "You told me to." I was like, "I'm doing what you said."
You fool, Lewis.
But I was like, "You told me to go. You told me to go and try different fruits."
Yeah,
innit? So
that's good.
Yeah. So I mean,
do you feel like you're back on top now? Do you feel like you kind of got over that hiccup and now you feel a bit more confident in your skills?
This is gonna be There's gonna be a contradiction to what I'm gonna say, but I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut about it. To be honest, like, I know obviously air on the pod, but that's for updates. But like, I'm not gonna go to like my mates and like, you know, be like, "Oh yeah, I'm going for this job" and stuff like that. Like, I'm actually just gonna be like, when I get the job, I'll talk about it. Like, for the opportunity externally, like, I was very excited about it. Like, told my parents about it. I was like, yeah, I got this interview, and I was like, yeah, it's gonna be sick. And I was like, you know, and then now I have to deal with the fact that when people ask me about it, I have to be like, actually, no, it didn't happen. And so I think maybe that's a lesson I need to learn, just to kind of like shut up, and then I don't have to relive the disappointment. So yeah, I'm keeping my mouth shut. I know obviously I'm airing out on the pod, but I have to tell you about my week. So yeah, man, we move. Man.
No more questions on that topic, sir. No more.
We move, man.
No comment.
We'll see what happens, man. Like,
yeah.
I'm not gonna get overexcited about anything anymore, even if it looks all clear, all green.
It hasn't happened. Like, it's happened.
Yeah, exactly, man.
That's like speed of rules.
Absolutely. Like,
it hasn't happened.
It's so true. And this is what I was actually saying to. Funny enough, I was actually saying this to people. I was like, "Oh, it's so good that you have an interview. Oh, I'm so proud." And I'm like, I haven't got it yet. I was like, be proud once I've got it. Like, yes, obviously, it's a stepping stone. However, what do you get from being rejected from a job? You get nothing, because you're rejected.
You learn what you need to improve on, though. You do get, like...
Most of the time, you don't, though. Because, obviously, companies will be like, yeah, we'll give you feedback and stuff like that. But they don't care. Because they don't want
feedback.
Yeah. Oh, you're just not a company fit, and other people more suited to the role. That gives you nothing. It gives you nothing.
I have a theory about why. I do have a theory about why you didn't get it. I have a theory.
Go on.
And I don't think it has anything to do with I don't think it's a negative point on your skills. So the opportunity you were going for had a time limit on it from the beginning, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't permanent. Cool. And we talked about how in businesses like that, when they set up opportunities like that, it's very soon to be automated or taken out. It's a very maybe role. Like, even if you've got a set time limit, if the project goes well, it's very rare your contract actually sticks around till the end. They usually just pay off the contract guy to go. They're like, "Oh, cool, nice having you. We don't need you anymore." And it's because it's like a test and learn to see what repeated actions are needed in that role that a computer can handle. And then what's needed for someone else to do.
I hear what you're saying. I know it's not that. However, I know that other people could potentially start sooner, and I know that could have been an issue.
Do you think that was why? Yeah,
it could have been an issue. Again, it's all hypotheticals. I'll let you know once I actually do know, if I do. But yeah, it could be that. But
that's a good point, actually, because that type of role, people are ready now to do it.
They actually really wanted people who could start in like 2 weeks.
Oh, then I think you know your answer, dude.
But we'll find out. But the thing is, though, they knew what my notice period was, but they still wanted to.
Yeah.
So we'll.
I think it's a door half open for you in that place.
We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see. But anyway, Sam, what are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about collaboration, working together, being friends, having fun.
For me, I wanted this to be more focused on co-host, co-founders. How do you find someone to co-found with?
We always go over the time limits, so we will touch on that. But I think there are core aspects of collaboration that is in everyone's day-to-day, right? And like I said, these episodes speak the future. What I have gone through in my work life and what I've witnessed from my research, what I'm witnessing in other people's life, there are so many consistencies. And I'm not going to lie. One thing everyone seems to not realize when you work with someone else, if you work with two, really, it usually happens if you work with two or more other people, so a group, not just pairs, right? Because when you're in a pair, unless you're forced to go for stranger, it can happen as well. But when you're in a pair, you'll usually go for someone you already know, right? When the teacher says pair up, you usually go for your mate. And this thing doesn't happen because it's already happened to you and that person before. If you start a new collaborative relationship with someone, you go through the stages of development, the norming, storming, adjoining, norming, storming, forming, performing. I'll find the chart. I'll find it.
I'm unfamiliar with what you're referring to.
Wait, I'll find it.
Was this in your PhD?
It was. Yeah, I found it. So it's forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjoining. They are the 5 stages of team development. It's actually basic business masters. I just forgot it because it's hot. That's my excuse today. So forming is you sit at the table, right? My name is Sam. Your name is Lewis. We know what the project is. We've got to work together. Storming, everyone has the best idea. Everyone wants to be heard and everyone wants to be understood. And in the fight towards everyone wanting to be understood, it's a very self-centered focus. This is most of the time what happens. People aren't clear on what each other's limits are. People basically aren't clear on what the other person is expecting to feel respected and to feel understood within the group or within the collaboration. Norming, you come off that argumentative phase and you kind of come to an understanding like, that's that person's limit. I'm not going to cross it. Let's just get the job done. It's quite a basic phase. Like you kind of, I don't like that person. I feel a type of way about that person. In general, you're uncomfortable, but you're willing to keep working with that person. The next stage after that is performing, where you start to see the positives in the people you're collaborating with more than the negatives. And you're able to kind of take advantage of those positives. You're able to keep winning. You're able to keep going. And adjoining is actually, it's I think it's a new stage that got added at the end of it. And it's basically the stage where the job is pretty much done and you kind of reevaluate what you've achieved. You come back, we all love each other. How did we do? Who's amazing? Who isn't? All these kind of things, right? Adjoining also kind of, it's usually like we're rounding off the project as well. That's around that as well. So those are the stage of team development. And every group setting, no one can say they've not been through that if they've been put into a group of people they don't know well in any team project, because it always happens. And if you say it hasn't happened, you're probably the problem in the group. And everyone else probably got through the stages. They just gave you basic tasks to get you out of the way, and that's how they got through the stages. Often that's why. No offense to the people that feel like I'm perfect, I'm always in a group setting and it's perfect. No, you're very likely the problem. You're very likely the problem that they solved, so then they can get to the performing and adjoining phase. What I've realized the problem is in some projects, there's not enough time to go through those stages, or there's not enough time to build up, set. And I'm living that right now because I've taken over a project halfway through. And I've come to learn that everyone was stuck in the norming phase. because at no point were they collaborating with each other to understand how they could be performing. At no point was someone openly talking to another person, another team talking to another team to kind of go, these are the issues I'm having. This is how we fix it. So my focus has been, I will be the heel. I'll be the mean guy. I'll be the uncomfortable one. I'll be the problem that everyone can kind of center around in terms of, we need to solve this because he's getting upset, right? And then what I've done is I've turned it around and I kind of reward those behaviors with a positive attitude or a positive outlook of like, okay, we're achieving this. If not, you're going to get negative Sam. You're going to get boring Sam of, right, how are we going to solve this? This is a problem. What are we going to do about it? And then when it is great, it's like, oh my God, guys, amazing. Let's do this. I'm kind of letting out the secrets because those people might watch this and think, he's been making it all along. No, I mean it. When you mess up, you piss me off and I hate you. But essentially, you got to go through those phases. And it's really difficult when you jump in halfway, because my focus when I join a group is to see how quick we can get to performing. And if I have to piss someone off, and I do what kids do, I'll test limits. So I'll poke at people. I'll kind of like, if I know something makes someone uncomfortable, but I need to do it to get along, to get the project ahead, I will do it. If I have to keep pushing requests and it's bothering you, I'll keep doing it because I want you to open up to me, essentially. Be angry, show me your worst side, we'll bond. And it's almost like, when friends fight and they become even better friends after that. It's that kind of behavior. I want to get to Storming as quick as possible so we can go through the rest of the process. We can go over the worst hurdle early. But the difficult thing I've been going through right now is I've joined a project where the norming is happening at probably one of the critical stages. We're not at the performing that they should be. It's happening at the most critical stages. So now we're going through Storming and people are getting upset. People are saying this isn't working. But then it turns out it's because they've not been open. So actually, you know what I said was wrong. They're not stuck in norming. They've been stuck in forming. They've been stuck in the very beginning for the past few months. And now I'm pushing them through Storming just so we can get from norming to performing. Just so we can get from, norming to performing and keep going from there. That's what I meant. So it's been a bit messy, but one thing I'm recognizing is 2 of the teams that I desperately needed to talk to each other are naturally doing it. I even typed out like an email to basically say, this is a mess. This is how we should be. This is what you should be doing to fix it. What are we doing this? Yes or no? And I joined the call and I started asking leading questions on this to basically trick them into admitting if they haven't done it or they have done it. And they have. They've adjusted. They basically weren't collaborating with each other. So one team had a deadline. The other team had a deadline. We are understanding that it's like a waterfall. One person finishes their project. They pass on to another team. They wrap it up. What was happening was the other team was getting their request and actioning it, but the other side hadn't finished theirs yet. So the other team couldn't finish what they need to do. So my request was, you're both going to keep getting the work. We're going to keep annoying you. We're going to keep pushing it towards you. There is going to be stress. And before they had like deadlines that had big, massive spaces in between it. So it's effectively like you've got 3 weeks or something and then we'll send you your next batch of work. I was like, no, every week I'm going to send you a batch of work to do. We need to get through this before the end of the month. So every week I'm going to send you a batch of work. And they were like, no. I was like, no, it'll be little chunks, but it'll keep coming at you until we solve this. Because my team's job, the only thing I want my team doing is sending you requests. Your job is to fix it. So how you're going to do that, I suggest you talk to each other in terms of how you're going to fix it, but we're going to keep sending you requests because that's the only commitment we are being held to is have we done our part. Your bit is responding to the requests. And thankfully, the stress of that has basically made them sit down and talk to each other. They came to me and they're like, yep, this is how we're going to process it. They're going to tell us what they finished. We're going to action it. It sounds simple, right? Tell us when you're ready. We'll send you the rest of the work. But I had to put them in an uncomfortable position so they realized it. And that's another thing about collaboration I want to talk about. When it comes to collaboration, what is it? It's like there's a book about this. It is the art of negotiation is letting someone else have your way. It's from my perspective, the project outweighs my need to be recognized as amazing. If I've been put in charge of the project's success is my success automatically. How it gets successful, who gets the credit for that, I don't care because the project being successful means that I did a good job. That's all the businesses ask for me. So if someone wants to be the star, if someone wants to take center stage, as long as we're doing a good job, as long as you're not being disruptive, I couldn't care less. And that's the role I play. So I basically coerce people into taking my idea, but then presenting it as their idea. because I know my idea will work, but I know if I say it's my idea, you're trying to shine, you're trying to prove that you're the best, you're going to actively push against my idea. So I'm going to drop seeds in the conversation. You're going to come up and say it was your idea, and you can go ahead and do it then. Go ahead and action it. Because at the end of the day, once a project's done, I still get credit for it being done. I don't care who gets the extra star for how it was done so amazingly. I'm just getting credit for it being done. So that's one of the things. And while I was touching on the person that wants to stand out, and I've got so much to say, guys, about this, because in the previous version of Evolve, I literally did like a 1 hour presentation to like a live call of people about this exact thing, right? There is different people in the team. There's the team player and the lone wolf. When I joined this project, the two people that were leading the project or working on it were both lone wolves. All their work was done in silos. They talked to each other when they needed to, but they did everything on their own. What that basically put us in a position of is no one had oversight of how the project was being conducted. When one person went on holiday, we were basically fucked until they came back from holiday. Now, in a team, it's acceptable to have a team player and a lone wolf. It's fine because everyone's got different work styles. What's not acceptable is someone refusing to collaborate with the rest of the team. You can have someone you can have the perfect hybrid, someone who can work on their own, be self-reliant, and you can also have someone who you can also have someone who can do that, be self-reliant, and then also jump in the team and talk to them whenever need to. That's the perfect hybrid. Someone who can be a lone wolf, do what they need to do, but also share the information with everyone. And then you get people who are on the complete opposite ends of the spectrum. One person who literally is completely unproductive when no one's watching them. They're sat there playing games, doing anything but their work. Or you get someone who is a lone wolf. They don't want to talk to anyone. They hate group situations. They add nothing to the group. You give them a task and they'll do it in their own time, but they do a terrible job of translating it back to everyone. In each of those settings, you need to have a way of kind of turning them into partial hybrids. The team player, you need to put them in a situation where they constantly have someone work with them from the average section. Let's say you have someone from that average section working with them, making sure that they constantly have a task to do, a task to come back to the team with as a complete. Even if it's a tiny task, give them homework all the time. The lone wolf, the demanding action is to make sure that they're constantly offering some form of information into the group. Funny thing is, they both have tasks to do. They both have tasks that require feeding back. The size of the task depends on the type of person they are. The team player gets smaller tasks, and their smaller task has a greater impact on the group. Yes, they're expected to keep the group morale up, make everyone happy. The lone wolf gets bigger tasks to do on their silo, but they have a smaller job of explaining their bigger tasks to everyone once they've done it. So it says some form of collaboration. But that's like my part one of my TED talk on collaboration and my waffle on collaboration. But it's very important. The simple thing is, it's very important to be able to speak up and be vulnerable in a group setting as well. And that's one thing I've witnessed was I joined this project to help push it along. And there are a few bullies in the project. There are a few people that don't give constructive feedback. They just shout. And I don't shout back. Like I say, if I see aggressive behavior, I shut off emotionally. I witness it. And there were a few moments today when they were on the call like, well, how's this being done then? How's this being done then? And I was just like, I just went quiet. I was like, we're sorting it out. It's like, well, what's the data around it? It was like, I'll get that data when it's ready. And you make them feel silly for raising their voice. And one thing I started realizing was the more monotoned I was, the quieter their next words were. Because I'm not going to shout back at you. I'm an adult. You're an adult. Act like it. I'm not going to raise my voice and meet your energy. You're going to come down to this level because what we're going to do is get to performing. And next week, we're going to have collaborative conversations on how do we fix this. But for now, I'm taking my stockpile of evidence, my stockpile of notes. And then when we do our how did this go session, that's when I'll unleash. That's when I'll turn my camera on, sit there and be like, X person, that was a terrible way to handle this project. Since I've joined this is what we've had to fix. I hope in the next project, you can do better. And one thing I'm not going to do is call them out aggressively in front of everyone. I'm going to list things in a constructive way of, this is what you did wrong. This is what we can do better. And then in a separate call privately, I'm actually going to go deep on it and say, these are the impacts you had across the team. And hopefully my lessons on collaboration work out well. But yeah, it's been a mad week, dude. It's been a mad week. It's been a mad.
That
week.
sounds intense, man.
It is, bro. I didn't expect it. Honestly, when I accepted the project, when I accepted the task of trying to make it better, I thought a lot of sensible things had already been done and decided on, and all I had to do was fix the timeline a little bit to push it along. I didn't realize so much, about 80% of it was still up in the air. I didn't realize that. And we only have like 6 weeks. Less than that now. We've probably got about 5 weeks left to finish it. And we're still only about 70%. We've still got about 70% left. The project's been going on for months. So it's going to be an interesting one. But I have faith in my team. I have faith in my team to tolerate me for a bit, knowing that when it's successful, they'll understand why. They'll understand the method to my madness. What is it?
Method to the madness.
Yeah, they'll understand the method to the madness. But until then, there'll be a lot of people kicking and screaming and complaining about me, going escalating things, wondering why is Sam doing blah blah. I don't care. I was brought here to do a job, and at some point, people need to understand how I operate when I'm put in charge of something. I'm not happy Sam all the time.
Yeah,
I'm here for results, and then be it. But before I dig deep into collaboration on the business level, tell me about you, Lewis, because your job is basically...
I'm not going to go into the job. I actually want to pivot slightly.
Okay, go on.
So it's quite interesting. So I was listening to Shits and Gigs, obviously.
Go on.
And I was on the Patreon.
That's 2 episodes, actually.
I'm on the Patreon. So they would say, yeah, I'm a cult baby. Yeah. But listen, this was actually good. They basically had like a Q&A episode. And people were like, oh, how did you get started and things like that, and actually finally dive deep into how they actually work, and kind of like their approach to working. And it was very much like they were just very much focused on consistency between the both of them in terms of like output. And like there'll be times where they did like multiple episodes in like one sitting. And they also touched upon, they spoke to someone who used to head up podcasts at Spotify, and now they kind of work as a consultant. And now they just basically give advice to podcasters and things like that. And they basically asked them like, oh, what advice would you give? And they basically said like, if you're a new podcast, is what the consultant said. If you're a new podcaster and you can't see yourself doing this or like putting out episodes every week for like 2 years, don't even bother. And it basically said like I wrote this down. I can't find it in my book. It's basically said like James said like, if you make 36, if you go past 36 episodes, you're in like the top 20% of podcasts to
that
ever
number
exist.
keeps changing so much.
Yeah.
That episode number
now
always
36.
changes.
It's now 36.
Yeah, someone said 50 once, and now it's 36.
It's not 50.
What is it?
100% it's not 50. I remember saying 23 to 30. But this way,
someone said 4 at some point, and I was like, okay, we're here for the good.
I actually remember hearing 4 as well.
Yeah.
I think 4 was like top 50%.
Okay, okay, fair enough.
But I remember they basically said like once they hit past 36, they were like, cool. But it goes into collaboration, and I kind of want to talk about how we collaborate, because in my head, I was very much focused on that long-term view. And in my head, the number that I would like to hit before we even consider quitting is 300.
Oh, facts.
And the reason why it's 300 in my head is because all podcasts I listen to that I know are successful and I actually enjoy, at least are in the hundreds. Like 200, we can have a conversation. However, I would like to have 300. After 300, I can let you have time off. You can go chill with your cats. You'll have a kid by then. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're chilling.
300, I'll have a kid by then, would I?
I mean, Sam, that's like...
That's
like 7 years.
Oh, calm, yeah. I'll be doing school runs.
Yeah, that's like 7 years. yeah, that's where I want to get to. So a lot because I Sam, I cannot broadcast this on the internet that we've done 15 episodes now, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can't just let it just hit 30 and then be there.
Oh no, I can't face the embarrassment.
Guys, where's the next episode? I can't see that.
Bro, I can't, bro.
And,
I know we talked about this. We did talk about what I need to do more of as well. We did talk about this. Yeah, currently.
Yeah, we'll get into the logistics.
Yeah.
But yeah, we need to push more on social. That's what I think I do need to know. We need to actually get that locked down because otherwise we're just going to not grow. And we'll come up with ways to collaborate that. Maybe we need an intern to do this.
I was thinking that.
I was thinking we need someone to.
We need like a coffee.
We need a little slave who'll do it for free.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't want to use that word, but I'm with you.
But
anyone,
you know what I mean?
Applications open, guys.
Yeah.
We ain't gonna pay you. We'll give you work experience, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'll give you. I was gonna say, what would I give? I'll give you a really good reference.
But I think that that shit I really don't enjoy. I know you don't enjoy it either. That's why you're not doing it, and that's why I don't want to either. But we have to. I think even if we like rotate, like this week you'll do it, this week I do it. Maybe we can do it so you actually get some time off. But yeah, in terms of collaboration, I actually want to go. I know we've had this conversation before we started because I know we had a couple of conversations before we started. So, Sam, why did you want me as a co-host?
Oh, we did. You know what? My answer will probably change slightly, but I'll put it this way. Actually, no, it won't. I remember exactly what I said, and I still stand by it. Why I want to just co-host is because
you have options as well. That's why. For me, because I know you had choices.
I had multiple options. I had multiple options.
I'm very curious. I was very curious, and I was like,
yeah, I had multiple options, and options have since then actually, since we've been live, more people have come. I feel like, you know when you got a girl and then all the other girls want you now because you're not single anymore.
Yeah, that's the same.
That's actually me recently. That has been me, and I'm not
people trying to take you from me, Sam.
Exactly. And I'm
people
off the
trying
market.
to take you from me.
They're trying to take me from mine, Lewis, and I'm off the market, guys.
Wow.
And I do have to say, and you know what? It's interesting. I'm now in a position where someone's like, "Hey, I was thinking of doing a podcast." And I'm like, "Yeah, me and Lewis are actually doing our podcast, and like we're really into seeing it for the long run."
People trying to make you cheat on me.
Yeah,
wow.
Here's my advice on like what you can do for your podcast, and like here's my advice on you finding someone that isn't me to do your podcast with. But the reason why I really want to do a podcast with you is one, we've vibed so well since uni, and we have had a long period where we haven't caught up like this. To be fair, like to be honest, it's been a long period where we haven't had like. It's not that we're not best friends anymore. It's like the way my friendships work is like if I don't speak to you, I don't need to speak to you every day.
Absolutely.
I don't need to see you every day. And like if I'm out of contact, it's not like I haven't got love for you. It's that literally my life is that hectic that unless someone starts a conversation with me, it's very unlikely I'm going to say something to them.
Yeah.
So
it was very much like so just to add on that, sorry to interrupt. It's like I think the way that I know with my close mates as well, it's like there was a time where when I first went to uni, I didn't speak to like one of my mates for like a year, but it's like it's not like any time was it just hits pause. Like you just pick up where you left off, that kind of thing. Whereas I think if I had like mates who were like, wow, Lewis, like you never make time for me anymore, I'd be like, oh my God, that's crazy. Like, you know what I mean?
I get so comfortable. I'm not gonna lie.
I don't have time for high maintenance friends because I very much have the understanding that I've got shit to do, and I respect you enough to understand that you've got shit to do.
And if you don't, why haven't you got shit to do?
So I'm not gonna, exactly. And I'm not gonna at you for having your shit because I want my friends to have their shit to do, just like I have my shit. So I'm not gonna at you for being like, oh my God, you never call me. Like I'm never gonna do that.
I have a girlfriend,
and like you know, and obviously if I hit you up and know you, it's because like, hey man, how you doing? Because I've noticed I haven't reached out, and I don't need to be like, wow, you finally messaged me, and you know what I mean. And not to sound like sexist, but I know that a lot. I think a lot of female friendships work that way, where like if you don't. If they don't chat,
it's very dependent.
Then it's like shit kicks off. Whereas I think men typically are very much like, you know what, it's cool. And like they can create a bit more distance.
No, I have felt that. I mean, maybe I think female to female friendships.
In my experience,
I've witnessed it more with female to female friendships
Yeah,
And
yeah, that's what I mean. Female to female
not
friendships,
female
I
to
think
male
like that.
friendship. Because I'd say the only times I've had this is when I've had a few guy mates be like, "Oh, you don't even reach out anymore." Like, I'll catch up with them like, "Oh, you've not said anything." They just like, I'm always the one. I'm just like, "Yo, no offense, I actually have a relationship already. Like, I'm not wifing you. I have other things to do in my life."
Yeah.
Like, and as soon as my male friends get like needy, I kid you not, you stop me and my friend. Like, it becomes uncomfortable to be around you because I'm just there like, ugh. Like, brother, shut up. They're like, oh, and I was like, ugh, this is really uncomfortable for me. Like, because you're now a task you're now a job. Like, you're now a full-time job that I didn't sign up for. So I'm not going to do it anymore. I quit.
It's just maintenance. And I was like, I can't be asked for that. It's like, you're acting like a girl, and I can't be asked.
Yeah. If you need me,
you know what I mean?
If you need me as a friend, like, holler at me.
Yeah,
like, if you need me, if you're going for. But if you just want me to call you every day to key and check in on you, no, I really have
that's long.
I already signed up for that. I already proposed to that job.
Yeah.
I'll see you next year at the wedding.
I know we're going a bit of a tangent.
Yeah, we've gone on a tangent.
But I think how we work quite well is, I know you've always been very business minded.
Yeah.
As well. And
so I didn't finish my list, by the way.
Oh yeah, shit, you didn't. Yeah. Sorry, continue.
So the thing I was going to go on to was, we have good energy when we talk to each other in terms of, I know you're business minded, but I also know you've got the ability to just switch off and be about the business when you need to be about the business. I have friends who fit into many like aspects of my own tiny little personalities, and they embellish it a bit more throughout what they do, or they exaggerate little personalities that I show way more than I do, right? So you're like, I don't know, you're like 80% of me being business minded. You could be like switched on all the time if you want to be, whereas I'm either 110% or 20%. It's very rare that I'm like consistent with my energy level towards something. And it's good to have someone like you, because you've got the self-restraint where you can basically go, no, Sam, we need to focus on this. And I'd be like, you know what, fair play. I'm focusing on that. You'd be like, all right, let's have some fun. And then like, if you said like, oh, let's get drinks or something, I can rely on you saying that, not because you can't be fucked to do work, but because you have an understanding that this is the time to play. Whereas I have some friends who only want to play. They have no focus at all. Yeah. And then I have other friends who will happily burn both of ourselves out in a desperate need, in a desperate search for success that they won't be able to achieve because all they do is burn themselves out. Yeah. So it's good to have someone who has the self-restraint necessary to know when to have fun and when to work. So when it's time to work and play, basically. And you've got a really good balance of that. And I'd say out of all the requests I had before we started doing the podcast, yours was like in terms of out of all the people I talked to, not requests, because I came to you about the podcast more than you came to me. But of all the people I've talked to about podcasting, you especially were the person who I recognize he's got a fair balance between work and play. Because there's stuff that happens in between just jumping on the call and talking to each other. There's like the editing, the skill sets underneath all of this that I know I do not have the focus to maintain and keep doing. Like the editing stuff, like that's part of your journey. Yeah. It's like, gang, that's perfect. That's exactly what it's working, because that's what I hate the most about the podcasting journey. It's the editing. I can't stand it. The business conversations and all that, I've done that for so many years. I can sit in any room and sell what we do to someone, to a partner when we're ready to. I can do that anytime. But the editing, the constantly hearing my nasally voice, all that stuff, I can't do it. And I know that most of the other people I spoke to couldn't do that either. Yeah,
that's fair. Because I know when it comes to a time where we have those business meetings, I know you're all in them, because I will switch off. Because I can't, I don't have the patience, because I'll just be like, I just want to make videos and chill. Like, I can't be asked to speak to these people and be like, that's where you could tap into the people pleasing energy.
Exactly.
And like, because it's actually needed there. Whereas I can't do that. I can't pretend to give a shit. That's one thing I'm really bad at doing.
And I'm a professional waffling.
Yeah, when that time comes, you could do that. But again, it's like, I like what you mentioned about like knowing when it's time to work and when to play, because I very much had this set up in my final year of uni when I lived with Elliot, because we were both in the same seminar group, we're both doing the same degree, and Elliot, we both wanted to get first at uni, and you know, in fact, a whole group of mates were actually all doing a business related degree, and I was like, right guys, we're gonna go to library, we're only going out to Ocean or whatever if we get this work done, or we do this much work. Me and Elliot in particular, because we lived together, he was like, oh, like we should go out, and I was like, no, we'll go out if we do this work. If we're not doing this work, I'm not going out. And so I very much treated that as like an incentive to make sure I got my work done, because I know I wouldn't, for me personally, I would have that, when you get hit with that sober thought when you're midnight out and you're like, oh man, I've really fucked up that work. And then like you just switch off and now you're not having a good time. Whereas I'm only able to switch off if I know I've done what I need to do to be able to afford to switch off. So that's very much how my brain works. I'm not going out and having fun if I know I've completely left a shit show at home, because I know I have to return to that in, 6-7 hours and then deal with it then hungover. Whereas if I've afforded the luxury of being, a little bit sluggish the next day, it's cool because I've earned it, because I've worked hard for the past 3 days. So I think I brought that into the pod, and particularly I know because we had like complementary skill sets. I know for myself, I don't have a co-founder for my company yet, but if I were to, it would be someone who had a complementary skill set, like someone who had the videography stuff, because I can't be asked to pick up cameras. So I think for co-founders, you should be able to do that. And just to, hand you your flowers as well, is yes, you approached me with the podcasting and I was like, gang. But for me, and I said this in the very first episode, is that I know I would have mates who would love the idea of having a podcast, but I know it would be me doing all the work.
Yeah.
And because I know, I love a lot of my mates, but I don't know if I'd be able to rely on them to work at the same rate that I'm willing to and put in the hours that I'm willing to. And that's no offense on them. It's just, I want to be able to say to you, you said you were going to do this, do it. Or I don't even need to have that conversation, ideally. And I know for you, I think you work better when you know someone's relying on you.
Yeah.
So I've never had to tell you, oh, Sam, you missed a recording last night. Because you know that if you missed a recording once, I'd be like, can't be asked. Like, can't be asked. Like, but it's like, if, we're doing shit, I want to be able to say to you, look, this isn't about me versus you. It's us and trying to make this as good as it can be, and remove all the emotions and the friendship out of it, which is important, yes, but we need to be able to speak on a level where we can say what we actually think of how to make it better, or how to have those disagreements. And you have a high enough IQ for me to work with you on that level. Whereas I think if I were to do this with somebody else, to be like, oh, I'm really upset because Lewis said this was shit, and take it personally. And I touched upon that in the first episode of like, oh, my feelings. But it's true. I can't be asked to deal with your feelings because we're trying to build something here, and it's not about our friendship. It's us trying to build something and, show a path. And it's bigger than, you feeling offended about some little thing that won't be important in a week's time. So I know I'm able to be like blunt with you. And yeah, I think, and obviously the business-minded part of it as well. And I think that was a good combination. I know because you're already business-minded, you would already think that way. So the collaboration has gone exactly how I expected it to go, to be completely honest.
I'm glad. I'm really happy about that. How do you think it will... Why am I trying to reach for a grape? What's wrong with me? I shouldn't be eating on camera. How do you think the learnings from your experience with collaborations will shape... How do you think that will shape your search for a co-founder in your business?
Particularly because I very much know what my skill set is now, and I know what my focuses are. I know I will need someone who has that complementary skill set, particularly on the videography angle. That would be like the number one thing, because if there was, if I was going into business with someone who had the exact same skill set as me, it's not really going to bring much unless they have a really great network. That's a different value. But in terms of actual skill set, I would need someone who was either willing to be able to skill up in that area or are at the same level as I am in that area. and then we could work together in that sort of way. If that answers your question.
Okay, no, I see what you mean.
But I think it would be something that would be quite. I can't see myself having a co-founder for a while because I don't know.
It's a solo journey.
Who would? Yeah, it's going to be alone for a while. It's because also I haven't dealt with these. In fact, I'm going to lean on you for this because I haven't dealt with these conversations of like equity, how much ownership you have, who brings the most value. Because obviously you have the arguments of like 50-50 is bad because one of you needs the decision-making power. And, so that's, someone should have 51-49, or some co-founders have 60-40, some have 80-20. So in terms of you, because you actually do have do you have a co-founder, or do you have
we do have we've got co-founder,
So I think it would be better to hand this over to you. How did you found your co-founder? What is that split of equity like? How did you come to that? Explain the...
So the equity
story.
wasn't one thing that we were very clear about. So when Anxious first started, there was me, Luca, Ollie, Sarah. There was 5 of us.
Yeah.
It was me, friend Luca, Ollie, Sarah, my fiance, and Alex, another guy. When we started it, my search was for people that were passionate about the idea, because like I said about projects, I'm all about the result. I don't care who's the amazing person. I don't care who's in charge. If you find the right person in charge, sometimes you have to put your own ego aside. And if you're not meant to be in charge, you don't put yourself in charge. And I was very clear in knowing that the first year or two, to myself, not to agree, but knowing that the first 2 years would likely be a wasted journey, because I had other priorities at the time as well. I had my day job and everything. So I was on a hunt for people that were passionate about the idea and willing to learn because they cared so much about the idea, willing to adapt, willing to make sacrifices, even essentially willing to work free.
Yeah.
Because they're passionate about it. And that was a really hard journey to start on, but my focus was to sell the idea. Not sell how the idea was achieved, but sell the expected outcome of the idea, which is to be able to help people and to be able to communicate well-being needs and wants to others, and be able to communicate resources to people. That was the outcome. And that's one of my main things about creating a knowledge sharing group, right? That's the focus of it. It's a group where we all want to achieve this outcome and we're willing to work together to achieve the outcome. And then one thing I slowly started to learn in that journey was that there's people who want to be a part of the successful outcome, but they don't want to do the work towards it. I also learned about myself in terms of you're going to have to say goodbye to certain people. And I know we've got an episode maybe one day about saying goodbye and all that. And I'm really hoping that episode is about us becoming millionaires, and that's why we quit our jobs, as we keep telling the future. So anyway, the hunt for my co-founders, in a sense, was a weird one, because I sold it as, this isn't my project, because I was the guy who came up with the name. I've had this trademark for some time now. So I did come up with the idea. So technically I am the co-founder and everyone else joined the project. But the whole mindset around it is that I might have come up with the name, I might have come up with the outcome, but we are in this together. And I wanted people who can share in that responsibility. Over the year to 3 years, as it went to 4 years, it became very clear that some people were there for the outcome, but not there to do the work. So we had to slowly start saying goodbye. It also became clear to me over that journey that some people cared more about me than they did about the outcome. So in all cases, so Luca, Alex, and at some point Sarah as well, it became very clear to me that it's not the outcome that they're focused on. It's about maintaining their relationship with me as a friend. It's about basically not disappointing me. And that's why they were here. And to me, that's not what I wanted to hear, because it's about the project. It's about creating a platform or creating a space that benefits people and helps improve their well-being. It's not about being nice to Sam, because when we go into business, you're not making decisions that benefit the business. You're making decisions that benefit me. And that's not, I don't want yes man or yes woman. I want people that are just doing things to make me happy. I want people that are helping me to work this project, because the project goes above me. It's beyond me. It is what it is. If in the future someone comes and goes, if we get a massive shareholder and they say, Sam, we need you to leave anxious extrovert, and then Ollie was to turn around and go, hey, like, dude, I'm not gonna lie, and all of them sat me down and went, these are the reasons why. I kid you not, as long as they can prove to me that the future plan for the project is amazing, I'll very likely take the money and keep it stepping, because it's about the project. It's not about me. It's not my ego. I want good money too. I'm not going to fucking just walk away.
Yeah.
Like,
Good payout.
Boy, like, pay me the billions. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Oh, goodbye.
Oh, all these
But
dried tears with 50s.
it's like, oh, can you turn the Bugatti on, please? Heated seats yesterday. But no, that was the journey. So over time, I think it was Lucas sat down with me first and was basically like, hey, dude, I don't want to upset you, but I'm not sure I can actually help with this anymore. And I was like, perfect. I already got that vibe. I just needed you to be the one to admit it. We're friends. We're always going to be friends, but I respect it. Lovely working with you on this project. Then it was Alex eventually, but the Alex one was a bit more strained because I think I was waiting for him to say so that I can end it, because I want to maintain that friendship with him. I didn't want to like kick him out, but there was like certain things where I was just like, this guy is just not performing, like, for God's sake. So he was like, it was actually quite an emotional one, to be fair with him, because we caught up and then like we went for a walk and everything afterwards, and he was basically like, I didn't want to disappoint you. And it turned out he wanted his ideas to be heard, but the ideas did not align with the future plan of the product or the project. Like, to action his ideas would have sent it in a completely different direction, and it was so clear that was going to happen. Yeah. And I think he'd be an amazing person to own his own projects one day and have his own expected outcome. But the actions, the steps, the map for where he was going to was not towards the outcome. It was towards a whole different idea. And I was just like, sorry, no. Then I had a very frank chat with Sarah, because she was basically managing all the socials. And I was like, we need more posts. We need more stuff going out. This is like the journey we're leaning towards. And she was basically like, honestly, I'm doing this because I love you. I'm not doing this because like I'm into the idea. I never was like proper. So I didn't want to sign up to be a social media person. And I was just like, I understand that. So more recently, Sarah dropped off. One thing I learned about myself in that journey was that my constant pivoting and the lack of clarity I was given on the lack of clarity or the lack of
direction,
the lack of direction I was presenting to the group was the bigger problem. In terms of like, from the very beginning, I didn't basically put milestones. I didn't put mini outcomes in that journey.
Yeah.
I put like I just put the overall outcome step. But that's because I was trying to sell the idea to them so that they can join, and then we can work out the mini steps in that journey, when really I should have had some key milestones that I should have also said to them, so then we can know what to measure and go towards. But admittedly, it was just a branding to start with, and we were just kind of working out how we achieved that outcome throughout. Ollie is my official co-founder, and I'm not going to lie, I had a feeling Ollie would be the co-founder from the beginning. I knew Ollie would be the co-founder from the beginning, but I didn't want to just dive in and do that.
Why?
Because he is you without the video editing and all those skills. Ollie is a dev. Ollie is a true full stack dev. He's a very rare kind of dev. He's a very rare kind of engineer, because a lot of engineers, a lot of devs tend to be quiet, introverted people. They all tend to have their own little cliques and their way of talking. And naturally, they all have a certain level of ego because they have a skill set that has a high barrier to entry. But once you're in there, it's coasted. Like you can, once you're in there, it's so easy to like develop, but it's really hard to get in there in the first place. And because of that, because of the mystique around what they do, a lot of them see themselves as like the lord of their land, and like, I'm the best because I can do a skill you can't. I'll charge you a premium because what are you going to do? Do it yourself? Haha, stupid. Like, Ollie isn't like that. Ollie is approachable. He has social skills for one thing, which is, I'm not going to lie, is rare to be a computer engineer who actually has really good social skills.
That's very true. Very, very true.
So because of that, I was just like, this kid's going to be magic. I need to collaborate with him. I don't know what I need to do, but I need to have him next to me because I want to build tech stuff and I want to learn tech stuff. But on my way to learning, I need to know someone who is way further ahead than me, who also has the skills. Ollie's the kind of guy I can leave him in the business room. I can leave him in front of investors, knowing that when I come back, I can just pick up from wherever the conversation is and sell the rest of the products, because he understands the tech as well as he can help sell it. Would I leave Ollie on his own in a room of investors? Probably not, no. Because But I trust that if I had to take time off for whatever reason, Ollie would be able to maintain the business. I always said to Ollie, my vision of Anxious Extrovert is to one day be able to just step back knowing that someone can carry the journey on, and he would be the guy who could carry that journey on.
Yeah.
So that's why I chose him, and that's how he became a co-founder. And I think it's been a bit of a waffle journey towards this point, but the journey to finding a co-founder is a long one. It's definitely a long one. I learned a lot more about myself on that journey in terms of who I should work with. I learned a lot more about the tendencies I have that might put people off or might basically get people to give up on the journey. But the summary of it is you need to find someone who can help to shape the project, can help to shape what you're going towards, because you need a co-leader. A co-founder is a co-leader. Someone who can share that spotlight with you towards the end. Someone who can hold your ground. Someone who, if you're off that day, they just naturally keep it going because your energies match, your mindsets match. And it's moments where I jump on calls with Ollie with an idea. There's often I jump on calls with Ollie with an idea, and he's already talking about the idea before I even say it. Or sometimes he's saying a better version of the idea, and I'm just like, oh my God, that's, I'll shut up, you speak, you do it. But I do know that when it comes to like the business stuff, when it comes to talk about the nuances around like tax, the finance, the tax return, all that stuff, that's where like I shine. That's why I do the bits.
I need to ask you, to ask you about that stuff, because I have to sort all that stuff this year, and I have no idea.
I've got you, bro. I need to sort it all out. I've got you.
Yeah,
I can help you out.
I need to sort that out.
We talk about the tax man listens to the calls.
Yeah,
we talk about that. Yeah. But yeah. Long story short, that was the journey towards co-founder, and it was ridiculously long. It's not an easy one because if you rush it, you'll screw yourself over. And one thing I'm thankful of is, one thing I'm upset about is how long it's taken for Anxious Extrovert to get to a point where me and Ollie now know what the final stop is, and we know what our cutoff point is. I'm annoyed about that, but I'm also thankful that I got to this journey with just Ollie, if that makes sense. Because if we got to this point with the whole team, it comes to show that they were doing it for me, not for the project. And later on, it's going to get harder. Once we start hiring people, once it becomes like a fully fledged business with multiple people in it, with multiple people to worry about, with a HR team and all this stuff, it becomes a bigger responsibility. And you want people that can sustain that development.
You can't transition.
Exactly. You can't just, I'm going now, I don't like it anymore. Like, you can't, because it's not just the group of 5 people watching your behavior. It's the whole company watching your behavior. It's the investment watching your behavior. It's the customers watching your behavior. And the fact that I'm paired up with Ollie and doing this journey, and he's stuck around for so long, I know I'm onto a win with this guy. I know I'm onto a massive win. So looking forward to the next few months, not even the next year, the next few months, big stuff's about to happen. And I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, I basically sat here talking. I said earlier, I've not even touched Anxious Extrovert in the past few years because I've been so focused on coursework and my personal job. I can confidently sit here knowing that plan for the next few months is still going to work out because Ollie's on it. Yeah. And that's what a co-founder is, rather than a team member, someone who works with us or someone who we ask to do stuff like throwaway work. He's a co-founder. He's responsible for the success as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice and emotional. Love you, Ollie. But yeah, that's what it is. But that's one thing. That's certainly one thing with regards to that. What do you think of when you see... Actually, here's a better question before I ask the rest of the other one. Are there any like typical celebrity co-founders that you think of when you think of an example of like a co-founder or a duo?
That's a good question. I weirdly, when you say that, my brain's gone blank, and I don't think there is one. I can't actually think of like, this.
And you can't mention a couple. You can't mention a celebrity couple because that's different.
No, weirdly, well, my flatmates are gonna laugh at this because I know they don't own a business, but it's like the only duo I can ever think of is the Russo brothers, and they laugh at that because I think of the Russo brothers all the time because in terms of like their actors, but I can't think of like the only one actually the only one I could think of is only because I used to work there is Spotify. So you have Daniel Ek and the co-founder Martin Lorentzen. And I actually like spoke to him because there's like basically at Spotify they do like this intro days, like when you're new to the company and you're a full-time employee, they basically fly you out to the HQ in Sweden and you basically are there for 3 days. So you know all about the company and you meet all other new starters, and it can range from like 100 to like 300 people there. And the co-founder Martin, I hadn't heard of him before, and like he was very, very charismatic, and it made a lot of sense because Daniel Ek is very introverted and he's like the engineer, and Martin is the character. And you've never seen him on company emails, you've never seen him on a call, he's never mentioned anything. This guy started and sold like 7 companies. Like I think he was involved with like NASCAR and not NASCAR. I'm trying to remember all these different companies that he's done, but reputable companies that are sold for millions. This guy has a net worth of like back then of 3 billion. And he gave me my first ever bit of advice that has stuck in my brain, because at that point I was always like, oh, I would love to start a business, but I don't have an idea, and stuff like that. And I spoke to him because he talked about entrepreneurship in his presentation, and like I stuck behind around the end because people had to ask him questions. I was like, I need to ask this guy for advice. And he basically said, ideas are great. You can get ideas from everywhere, but he was like, but execution is absolutely everything. And I was like, if you can't execute, your ideas are bullshit. Like, they're not worth anything. So it's like your ability to execute is absolutely everything. And that's why I don't have analysis paralysis anymore, because I was like, if I can't execute, there's no point. So forward motion is absolutely everything. And that really stuck in my head. He's the only co-founder. So he was the one who put in, I think he put in like 10 million of his money into Spotify. Like his funding was basically, was mostly him.
So I have an idea.
That's the only co-founder I can actually think of.
So I have a theory around this, and it's about the dynamics between co-founders, or how co-founders tend to collaborate.
Yeah.
The CEO, tends to be just a good spokesman, and they play a good role of that. Regardless, you need a beautiful swan, and you need the legs kicking underneath.
Yes.
And they tend to be the perfect pairing.
That's
for co-founders.
Very true.
And the only time it's different, it's when the only reason that they're known is because they're paired up. Not because of a project or a product or a company they run. It's because of their pairing. So if I said Will and Jada, it's not that, oh, you know them because they run this company. You know them because they're Will and Jada. That is the company. That's the company name, right?
Yeah.
If I said Meghan and Harry, you know Meghan and Harry as a couple. And I know I'm naming couples, but that's the thing. Like you said Russo brothers. We know that they're directors, but when you say Russo brothers, you think it's because they're the brothers who do directing. You don't actually go Marvel and then Russo. I mean, you did once upon a time, but now one of them does DC and you still call them Russo brothers. So you don't, the connection isn't there because of that. And that's what I'm kind of saying is like a true co-founder relationship is someone has to accept, you have to accept that the project is the most important thing. It's as simple as that. You have to accept that the project, and then like you play roles in that because you don't care about how you're seen. You care about the outcome. You play the role you need for the outcome to be successful.
That's definitely true. I think it's quite interesting because with the Spotify example, Martin is definitely more charismatic and Daniel Ek is more introverted, but he is the CEO, which is quite interesting. I know for my brother and his company, his co-founder Wilfred, my brother is very much, he was like the sales, like, spokesman, does most of like the press and things like that. They're both charismatic, but my brother was, the business head. Wilfred is the engineer from ex-Google. They both met at Google. He's the engineer at Google and did all the coding and shit. Like, you usually have the salesperson, you have the engineer and the coder, and that's the setup that you have. But yeah, I think that's very much tech startup mentality. I know it's the same with, I need to read the book on the Netflix co-founder, but I think that's very much the setup as well. It's very much the same thing. And the thing is, it makes perfect sense because you both need to, it's like a relationship. You need to treat it like a marriage. You both need to complete each other. You both need to have complementary skill sets.
You can't both have the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if I were to, as you said this time, like if I were to go and start a business a few years ago when I was definitely more sales focused, back then, if me and Elliot were to go into business with each other, we both have the exact same skill set. Like, we're both the salespeople, and we'd both basically be trying to fight for the spotlight. And it wouldn't have worked because we both have the exact same skill set. Like, one of us would need to know how to code. Like, it wouldn't have made a lot of sense. And we both would have ended up doing stuff that we actually don't like doing. Whereas if I was very sales focused, I needed someone who was engineer focused. So I don't think both the founder and the co-founder can't really be the same, or one of you needs to step up and be the salesperson and other one focus more on the sales engineering stuff. Like if you take companies such as like Microsoft, HP, and those ones of a grander scale, like even Steve Jobs, actually, like Steve Jobs wasn't obsessed with coding and everything like that. Like, he hated it, but like he was very much focused on the design. And then his other people, I don't know their fucking names, but I know they're rich as shit, focus on all the coding. It's the same with Meta and Facebook. It's like the founder most likely can do that coding stuff, but they have a dedicated person to do that. But I think with tech startups in particular, and I definitely learned this definitely more so from my brother, it's like, if you're focusing on a tech startup and you're not tech minded, my brother like had an understanding and took like, Code Academy courses on coding, so you could actually speak the language to the engineers.
That's the thing.
To get them to do the shit.
You need to be able to translate your ideas into actionables. Yeah. That's the most important for him.
That's the main thing. So I think for you and your co-founder,
it's a sign of respect, dude.
Yeah,
it's a sign of respect for the work someone has to do.
Absolutely, and for me, it's like I've said, I don't want to know how to shoot cameras on video and shoot cameras for video because I just want to edit. However, I've actually begun doing my research into how different cameras work and stuff like that, and learning all the technical things, so that when it comes to that time where someone might come to be like, oh, I'd love you to edit my video, but can you shoot? Now I can then direct someone to be like, okay, we want an over-the-shoulder shot here, a wide shot here, and speak their language and be like, I want it in this ratio and all this sort of stuff. So it makes my life easier, and it's doing the due diligence if you're working with somebody. So I'm not saying I'm trying to completely get away from doing things I don't want, but you got to be able to speak the language.
That's true. So your brother, what were the changes? Were there changes in his behavior as he was building his business and as he was becoming closer to his co-founder that you recognize, because you've known him all of your life, because he's your older brother? You've seen him probably be immature, young. In terms of his relationship with his co-founder, have you seen that dynamic have an influence on him in his day-to-day life?
I wouldn't say much about his day-to-day. What I know about him is that, and I've seen it he says this in interviews as well, it's basically like his relationship with Wilfred is basically you treat your co-founder like a stranger and you basically remove all emotion about it, and it's just about the business. And what I have noticed is that if I ask him for feedback about something, particularly because he knows I'm focused on building something for myself now, he'll be like, for example, with this podcast, he'll be like, hey bro, listen to the podcast, some very blunt feedback coming to you, and then he'll give me very blunt feedback as it is. And we go, it was all good.
I was like,
good, don't worry. But yeah. It was all good.
I want to talk to him. Give me his number.
It was all good. But he's very direct with feedback, and he's very he's quite stoic. I would say he's quite stoic in terms of like he he will communicate to you in a way that won't make you feel like shit, but you'll understand where he's coming from. Like, if he doesn't like something, he'll be like, I don't tolerate this behavior because of this, and this. In the future, I want you to do. Like, he's very much like, he doesn't put his emotions into feedback. He will tell it as it is, completely objectively, which is good. And you're like, okay, I respect it, as opposed to being like, oh, this is so ass because da, da, da. Like, he's not very reactive to things. If he has a problem, he's very much like, I'll tell you how it is without getting angry and stuff like that. But he'll let you know that he's pissed off in like a really, it's almost worse. Like, I always wanted to be angry, but like I've noticed he just has a lot more clarity. Yeah.
I asked that
that's
question
that I have noticed. Yeah,
I asked that question in a very coercive way, and you answered it way better.
Okay,
so that this whole segment has accidentally come together way better than I anticipated, and I'll say why. So I do feel like being my leadership bag right now at work is like, it's highlighting bits in me, or like weird little capabilities within myself that actually wins in the long run, in terms of, I am a people pleaser. I'm approachable, but it's because I actively read people and I try to see what will make them happy, and then I say what's happy. And through life, that's taught me to kind of look for people's weaknesses, and naturally things that you kind of like exploit in conversation towards achieving your outcome. It's like NLP, right? Is it like neuro-linguistic programming or something like that? It's like,
yes.
That's it. Saying the right things to get the right outcomes, because at the end of the day, all our brains are computers, and if you feed the right variables. But a lot of the early stages in conversations is test and learn. What things do you say that triggers certain actions? And in the conversation, someone, if you could do the right combination of actions, it's almost like you can hack someone into giving you what they want. And we can't help it. It's not that, it's just how we work as human beings. We can't help it. We're still responsible for our actions, because everyone requires different kinds of inputs to give a certain action. And over time, your inputs change, you develop, and all these things. Long story short, I was a bit confused because it is hot, and I'm all hot and bothered in this room. It's fucking uncomfortable. So I was a bit confused, but you said something beautiful that reshaped, that once again highlighted why our relationship is so strong. You reminded me that this isn't live, and I can take my time. And like, Lewis, the weird thing is, for the longest time, every episode, I've not processed it that way.
Oh, really?
I've processed it as someone's watching me right now and I look stupid. That's how I process it, right? Cool. So that bit was not planned. That response wasn't planned, but I loved it because it kicks me into gear. I was like, oh my God, I'm definitely on the right path. That's another thing I've now logged in. One thing you said once was, I say your name.
Yeah.
And that was like a gauge. That episode was intentional. I will say I was intentionally doing that. But since then, I've not done it as much because I wanted to see what happens when I don't say his name as much. What happens if that tweaks a little bit? And the engagement is still there, but you definitely are more active. You do less of the slow blink and tired eyes when I say your name.
I think if I catch myself and I'm like, I have quite oriental eyes anyway, but I do.
I think it's because I hope it's not because you get bored of me. I think it's because you get lost in the story and you're envisioning what I'm saying.
Yeah, I process.
You're
my processing phase.
But you get locked in, and I that's what I've learned about it. What I was trying to basically get to was, and your brother's story about how he communicated with his friend and everything is, when you're in a group setting, when you're collaborating, you have to learn what every person's quirk is, how to communicate. So I have there's two ladies in my team that I'm kind of responsible for the output of their work, right? For one of the projects, not the one I was talking about, not necessarily the one I was talking about before, but for one of my projects, there's two ladies in the team, and they both have different dynamics. One is very much calm, collected, gets the work done. The other one's very much like calm, collected. No matter how bad it is, it's not that bad. Everything's fine. And the other one is very much like pissed off. People talking to me. I'm not happy about it. Blah blah. Each person needs a different way of communicating. I'm not going to say which is which, but you can probably tell from what I was going to say is like, actually, it's helpful if I say which is which, so I'm not naming them. The one that gets stressed easily requires more of a calmer tone, requires more of a because sometimes I'm like, most of the time I'm like, I get why you're pissed off and I want to be pissed off too. And she tends to require more of a line with her energy. I'm pissed off too. This is fucking annoying. These people are jarring. And then you calm it down into, but I guess I see where they're coming from. And also, yeah, there's value in what they're saying. Like, they're terrible at communicating it, but there's value in what they're saying. And then you align with the energy and you bring them into the outcome and into more of a productive conversation. The more relaxed one, it's more of a hammer it in, spike a bit of adrenaline. No, this is a shit show, that kind of thing. No, like, this isn't good. Like, we need to wake up here. Come on. And then there's a bit of aggression that will come out of her, and I'll be like, lock that in. That aggression in, and then coast it through, and then be like, okay. And like, one of the best things happened today was like, I locked in a part of her where she started to share her ideas more collaboratively. Like, I would turn my head and she'd walk into my line of sight to make sure that she's constantly got my vision, to make sure she's constantly got me locked in and concentrated on her. And then when I realized that, okay, she wants me to be focused on what she's saying, I was like, why don't you come sit next to me? Like, sit next to me and like, we can share ideas because you're saying some good stuff here. Sit next to me and let's process this. Because then what I was doing is actively encouraging her to not be, oh, everything's going to be fine, and actively like encourage her to be more active, be more outspoken, focus on actually hitting that deadline, focus on achieving the goals. I mean, she had to leave at lunch. So we couldn't do it. Literally, I pushed it and then she was like, actually, I've got a half day today. And I was like, damn. But it was nice to know that, okay, I've locked in that person's quirk. I've locked in that person. Like, they want to be understood. They want the time to be able to explain their ideas. And I get that. And I really appreciate that. I need to be better at getting her to that state where she's comfortable. She can sit there. She can share her ideas. And we can get collaborative. We can get moving on. What I'm trying to get to here is a lot of collaboration. It's about understanding how to communicate with others. Not everyone responds to the same exact tone. And like in a group setting, you have the boss that's really mean, and sometimes you think, oh, why is he being nice to that person? Why is he being mean to this person? All this. Everyone has different ways of being managed and being spoken to. And you have to find that little quirk. It's very difficult in group sessions because if you're mean to one person and nice to the other, then everyone's like, why the fuck? You've got to do it in a way where the transition is so seamless. So most of the time in group settings, I'll be like friendly Sam or monotone, wherever it is. If there's like massive dynamics in terms of how I need to talk to people, I'll tend to be like more monotoned in a group setting. So then everyone gets the same equal energy from me. If I'm constantly trying to get everyone to a positive point of view, then I'm more happy-go-lucky Sam. If I'm trying to get everyone down to next edge because there's a lot more people that need to be just set how it is, then it's more like, all right, this is the goal today. These are the to-dos, that kind of thing. So there's some, when you get your manager who's like, yeah, you got to learn to talk to everyone differently, that's something I'm learning to do. And this is the quirks I'm picking up.
There's a story that I'm looking up on the left. I was listening, but it really reminded me of something. I'm pretty sure it was this. So I read this in Stephen Bartlett's most recent book, in terms of like how to get the best out of everyone. And they referred to Sir Alex Ferguson yelling at, I think it was Patrice Evra. I'm not sure what position he plays in, but it's basically it's football. Yeah. So did halftime, Evra doing a thing. Yeah, I say it was Evra. He was best player on the pitch, but they were doing shit. Basically, halftime comes. Ferguson absolutely tears into Evra, even though he was the best player on the pitch. Like, absolutely tore him a new one. Like, to the point where he was like, I'm gonna, felt like scrapping, like, because he was just like, what the fuck? Like, I didn't even do anything. So I think like they go on to win or something like that, and then like Evra asked Ferguson, like, why did you talk to me like that? Like, that was really out of order. He was like, because I told you were the best person on the pitch. I tore a hole into you, the rest, but their ideas up, because they were like, he's the best player on the pitch, and he just got his asshole torn into what, like,
I have
torn into
lived that. I have lived that.
And he was like, oh, right, okay, fair. And that's why, like, Ferguson goes down as a legend in terms of, like, bringing the best out of people.
So today,
That's high. It's a so high level EQ. Like,
so
yeah, it's so good.
so today in this episode, we've talked a lot from the leader's point of view and a collaborative adventure, because we want our listeners, we want all of you to be leaders, right? We want all of you to start £1 million ideas and then quote us in one of your interviews so then we can shine with you, right? But there's something where you're not the leader and where you're one of the participants in a collaborative group. Like you're one of the like newbies, or you're one of the, basically you're the doer, not the thinker in the situation. That is something I actively look out for when I'm not in charge and when there's someone much higher ranking than me. It's when they start in front of everyone else saying, Sam's doing a great job. Sam's amazing. And we have this one guy who literally did that. And I didn't say anything. He said it for everyone and I just went quiet. I didn't go, oh my God, thank you. I didn't do like, because it gives me ultimate ick. Like it makes me so uncomfortable with people. I'm like, I get so disgusted and disappointed when people are like, oh my God, he knows my name. I'm like, Jesus Christ, man. Like, get over yourself. Relax yourself. Like, I get so disappointed with that. So I was like, I'm not going to be that guy. But he was basically saying like, he basically wanted everyone to do like, everyone to get their shit together. Like, come on, guys. Like, and all the teams like, oh, we'll take our time. Like, this is why we can't do it. I know he said his name. I'm going to try and avoid saying his name. If I do, please bleep it out. He's like, let's call him Tom. His name's not Tom. I actually know someone called Tom, so I'm going to change it. Let's call him Bartholomew. So Bartholomew. That's because that's what I named my car. Bartholomew, and I don't know anyone called Bartholomew anyway. So Bart.
Okay.
Bart basically sits everyone down in the call and basically goes, we've got to hit this deadline. And I'm not getting the energy from you leaders like your teams can hit this deadline. And quite frankly, it's annoying me. And I'm just sat there like, well, we can hit the deadline if we get our act together. So he starts calling people's products and he gets to mine. He's like, right, so what are you going to do? I was like, oh, we'll get it done. And if we can't, we'll find a way to try and work it. If not, we'll let you know what we're struggling with. But we'll try our very best to get it done. And he was like, that's what I need to hear. Everyone should be like Sam. You need to be trying to get it done. And then he said something like, Sam says he's going to get it done. And I was just like, I didn't say I was going to get it done. I said, we'll try. If it goes to crap, like, we'll let you know.
That's the worst one.
I didn't 100% commit to. But I was like, this is not the time to go against him, because he's using me as an example of, I want you all to be like Sam. And that's a very cautious game to play when no one even knows who you are, when you're new to the room and all of a sudden you're the amazing shiny thing that's shown off to people. Because I was getting set up for something big, which is when he needs to remind everyone that as much as I'll praise you, I can destroy you. I'm going to be the first example, because now everyone's looking at me and I just went quiet. I refused to acknowledge what you're saying. I was just there like carrying type. I was answering emails. I'm not going to lie. I said what I said. I knew you kept talking about me and I was just like, I'm not going to acknowledge what you're saying, because if I do, then I accept the position and what he's saying, and I'm not going to accept that. It's not happened in my eyes. I didn't acknowledge that I was 100% going to do this. I acknowledged that I'm going to try my very best and I'm going to go into the end. I'm going to give it the energy as though I'm going to do it, but I'm going to let you know if it fails, right? And he's telling people like, he literally like selective hearing, ignored all of that and just went, yep, he said he's going to do it. You should all say you're going to do it. Sam's amazing. Be like Sam. Okay, cool. And afterwards, I started getting messages from people like, oh, Bart really likes you. Oh, I'm hearing a lot of people saying about how Bart really likes you and how amazing you are. And so I sat there, and then Bart comes up and just goes, oh, do you want to come and work in my office? Like, don't bother working at your desk. Come work in my office. And I just went, no. And then he threw a face like, what? And I was just like, no, I'm all right. I'm just going to work at my desk. Like, I'm more comfortable here. And he kept saying, I was like, not going to lie, you scared me a little bit, to be honest. So I'm just going to stay at my desk. And the reason why I did that was because what I said earlier. Everyone in that call technically is higher ranking than me. And I've been set as the example of do better, and I'm technically lower ranking than them. When there comes a time where he needs to kick off a bit more because people are still not doing what they're told, he's tried his very best, he's basically gone, the small guy's better than you, you're not doing enough, and that's not working. He's going to say, even the people I like, I will destroy. So let it be known, if my favorites get destroyed, you're definitely going to get destroyed. I'm the name that's going to get called up as the fuck up in that conversation. And I'm not trying to be Patrice in that conversation, Lewis. Yeah. I'm not trying. So I let him know what my boundaries were, which is I'm here to do the job I've signed up for.
Yeah, he was trying to
not here to be your bestie. He was trying to use me to set an example.
Yeah, he was trying to use you. He was trying to use you as a motivational tool.
Exactly, and I was just like, I'm
Even
not doing
the lower ranking black guy,
Exactly.
this
Even
bear that
he could do it.
Even
And then
he could do it.
Even he
Where
could do
he
it.
came
I can't
from.
eat it.
He wasn't
And
even born here.
Alright, he's not there. Bye is actually a lovely guy. I'll say this. I basically avoided, and then I think someone asked me, it was just like, someone said, "Oh, you should really try and get close to him. Like, it's very high rank, and he can get you." I was like, no, my career path isn't to be his personal assistant or to be his favorite human being. I've come here to do my PhD and see how I can develop in the finance world. I've not come here to spend the rest of my life following his shadow. So I'm not going to go there, sit in his room and be his bestie, because the other side of things as well is when you play that role, when you accept that role, you accept the envy of others.
Mm.
And when you're there to work collaboratively, most of the people in that room, I need their teams to do stuff for me. I'm not here trying to be enemies. I'm just trying to get my day job done so I can go home. Simple as that. And I spotted an opportunity there to turn it on its head. I saw what Bart was trying to do. And I said, no, I could turn this to my advantage. And I highlighted to everyone else that, yes, I will get the job done, but I'm not a snake. I'm not a weasel person either. I'm going to stick here. I'm going to do my job. You can trust in the fact that you can still tell me your deep secrets about him. I won't tell him because I'm not his best friend. I'm closer to you. And admittedly, why I'm doing that is because I need them more than I need him. And when you're in that situation, you need to make your choices very carefully.
Yeah.
What do you need to do to achieve your part of the project? Do you need to kiss ass and kiss feet? Then you're not trying to achieve your part of the project. You're just trying to find an easy win for you. And that's fine if you're trying to do that, but be honest about what you're doing. Don't sit there and lie to yourself and think that what you're doing is good for the project. It's not. It's good for you. You're being selfish. Own it. Do your thing. But if you're not, and you're pretending that you're the hero of the project because he likes you more, you're lying to yourself. 100% you're lying to yourself. That's my only giveaway on that one.
Yeah.
Let me sip my water.
Yeah, for sure. It's 10 o'clock, Sam. We need to wrap this up. But no, I like this topic, man. It's been good. There was very little prep in this episode, so I'm surprised that this has gone over to...
Great.
This will be an hour 49.
Really?
It's an hour 49 right now.
It just feels wrong sometimes, this stuff, when it's at 45 minutes. It feels dirty. I feel naughty. I can never do like less than an hour episode. It just feels wrong.
No, we haven't done an hour in a while. All right, we're going to wrap this up. So, guys, hope you enjoyed this one. If you have, please rate us 5 stars, because this has been a long-ass episode, and if you listen to this, like, please know.
What, guys?
Yeah, and it's more.
We don't have aircon where we live.
Yeah, I do. But
Lewis, shut the.
I'm just saying.
You don't shut up.
No, you can't. I'm not living. I'm not
middle school ass.
I'm not living this. I'm not living this broke life like you.
Well, have you actually got like proper aircon? Like,
yeah,
proper, like...
I've got vents and shit. Like,
what?
Yeah, I'm chilling. I'm cold. I put a hoodie on. I'm not even joking. It's chilly.
I know you're not even joking.
Anyway, guys.
What's the living?
Yeah, man.
Are you so out of touch, this Donny?
No.
I'm not living. No, guys. No, guys. I am your leader. I get you. All right, I've lived your life. This guy over here. This guy, Lewis. He's a bad man.
Yo, guys, if you want to be chill like me, head on over to the Podcast Evolve on Instagram. Also follow us on TikTok. If you have any emails, comments, questions, podcastevolve@gmail.com. If you want to visit the website, because Sam worked so hard on it, it's www.thepodcastevolve.com.
Just knowing that you're not going through this heat with me really upsets me, and I want you to know that.
Oh, it's still a little bit hot.
Shut up.
Anyway, all right, guys. Love you. See you guys next week.
This isn't over, Lewis. This isn't over. I'm coming.
Bye.
I'm coming to your house. Get my keys.
Sam, say bye.
I'm on my way. I'm on my fucking way. Bye.
Bye. Bye.